Awesome. Well, let's back up then from winning an IDIQ, which is amazing, to where many companies maybe do start and then fail. But you've been writing a lot about SBIR, Cyberland, and well, right now I don't think it exists because we don't have a reauthorization. But take us through some of your thoughts there.
Yeah, I should post about SBIR on a regular basis. And I'll claim my bias, right? Like I've worked for government, so I have seen SBIRs used on the government side. I've been in the meetings where they're talked about in practice, right? Free money, funny money, OPM, right? Other people's money. It's not real money. It's free money because it's not part of a program. So we can just do whatever we want with it, right? There's not that same sort of attachment and equity that you apply to money that you fought and won in a POM and a BEST battle, right? Program objective memorandum, budget estimate submissions, right? Those arcane dollar processes. And so they're not treated the same. So that's one piece, is like the money is just not respected on the government side the same way. That's one issue. The other issue is like we have the Valley Death, and then we come up with these Band-Aid solutions. And credit to Senator Ernst, who's currently like making them stop the process and actually talk and think about it, because there are structural issues. And one of the issues is like all of the R&D money is on the one side of the valley, right? It's over in R&D land, it's in labs, whatever. It's where all the SBIR money is, and it's being executed in SBIR R&D land. The Valley of Death exists between that SBIR R&D land and program of record land, and the functions are completely different, right? The money that is in POM land, in program land, that program of objective memorandum money in the programs, was programmed 2 years ago, and it's a zero-based construct. So every single dollar in a program was minutely estimated, and I built POMs, right? So minutely estimated down to the dollar for what you're going to need. So if you're going to put some new SBIR thingy in there, you necessarily have to move something out. And the problem I see with all the Band-Aid surgery solutions that are being, banted around, like, oh, we're going to make the award amount bigger on the SBIR side. Oh, we're going to go up to $30 million. Oh, we're going to have AppFit, and we're going to have TACFi, and we're going to have StratFi. It's still on the wrong side of the valley. All of the money is still on the R&D side. And so what you try to do is you try to get enough escape velocity coming from the R&D side with these tens of millions of dollars to try and, land over into POM land. But it's still a 2-year gap because there's still programmatic requirements. Well, why don't we just have SBIR sequestered money in every program element line? And maybe not down to every single sub-PE, but like I have a program of record that is an established thing. It exists. Congress flows money like blood through the arteries into the capillaries, through those program elements into those programs. Why isn't there just a fat line of like, hey, whatever your RDT&E resources are, we're going to have 10% added. We as Congress, we're going to add 10% to every, program of record across all of the services. That 10% addition is only for SBIRs. You could only spend it on SBIRs. Well, you now have a bucket of cash over here in the program of record land that it can only be spent on those SBIRs. And so what does that create? That creates a demand signal. The folks over here in program of record land will now have a financial incentive, actually a mandate, because there's no bigger black market of program than sending money back to the Treasury, right? So there's going to be a demand on the program side to spend that cash. And if they can only spend it on SBIR things, they're going to be going out looking for stuff. They're going to take more interest in making sure that the topics that are being created and selected are in the interest of their program. There's no demand side. Like we try to continually push more product side, more capacity side. There's no demand. And that's the problem. That's why the valley exists. It's not a hard solution.
I like a lot of this because ultimately what you're nailing is what SBIR fails to do is connect it to the end state, right? Where you have this program of record land. But I worry that one of the advantages of the SBIR is to explore outside of, and rightfully very, very risky, right? But if I am an E7 in the Air Force that has no connection to a program office, and let's not pretend those program offices are ever going to care about that E7 and has an idea or has something and is meeting, is at a conference and has a good idea, is there any, and maybe the answer is like, hey, we're never going to work for that E7. We're never going to have a good system and sorry. Or is there any way to have like these good ideas that can come from the field have an avenue to get a shot at? We need to be better at publishing like, this is a long shot company. The transition rate will be 1%, and good luck if you want to fund that and let capitalism work. But I just worry that what I love about your idea is that it's tied to these end states, but then we're limiting it to only within the framework of program of record. And are we missing good ideas that can be out in the field in that world?
The two things that I'm going to protest on that are, number one, there is the DARPA, right? DARPA is designed, and they get $4 billion a year, reliably from Congress to explore pie in the sky stuff. Sweet. And they do SBIRs too. Go do one of their SBIRs, right? They're in pie in the sky land. And you can sell a DARPA program manager on a good idea in a heartbeat. Fine. What are we actually trying to do with SBIR? And actually, what does a company want to do with a SBIR? They want to get into a program of record where there's real money, right? And so the first two kind of policy ideas, number one, create a fat slice of money to catch those programs on the program side. That just creates a landing pad for those capabilities. That needs to happen. The other thing is, if it is pie in the sky, inherently a program office isn't going to care. So we can invest money in these magical things, but if in some way you can't tie that even tangentially or loosely back to some program, whether it's a current program or a future planned strategic program, you can waste the money. It's not going to go anywhere. And so that company, like, okay, good, you got $2 million of runway. I'm sure that helps you, but your time in defense is now dead because there's nowhere to go. And we're not going to keep limping along on SBIR money. Like, that is the problem. The fact that that is an acceptable approach to technology investment and adoption is asinine. It's like throwing VC money at a product that there's no TAM for. No one would do that. So I don't think that it has to be like, here's my structured program of record priorities. But if I'm doing something in C2 communications or cryptocurrency, I should at least be able to go, if we're successful, here's the program of record in the government that this should go to. Like, maybe they don't have a line for it right now, but this would be their job if this became a real thing.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the E7 and I am coming up with a good idea, we should make it easier for that E7 to say, that's really cool. I know how I could use it. Whose job is it to give me those things? Oh, it's this person's job. Okay, well, I'm just going to tie my topic to that program. It doesn't have to be hard. And honestly, one of the things that I think is important also is topic selection for SBIR programs. Where is it done right now? It's done at multiple echelons, going up a filtered chain of command up to whatever SBIR management system there is at the top, right? So AFWorks, SpaceWorks, Army SBIR, right? There's a filtration process as these things percolate up. That's the wrong way to do it, because the further you go up in the approval process, the further you get from the point of need and the most active understanding of the relevance of a capability, right? By the time you get up to the top, before the final adjudication and shipping into the OSD BAA, the people up there have no contact or connection to the actual problems they're solving. And it's no shade on them. Like, this is just the system as it's set up. So, like, why aren't we crowdsourcing the topic approval? Why isn't there a voting system? So if that E7 really wants this new magical widget, why doesn't he go to the motor pool and say, hey guys, y'all need to go to whatever, SBIR.mil and upvote my thing.
Joke about SBIR mills.
It would change the dynamics.
I think the DoD needs to do a better job of being that front door, because I think you do have a lot of excited engineering talent that want to go do something. And then they see the front door as SBIR because that's what the DoD is advertising. And they don't even know that the DoD should be very open about the program of record stuff, but instead that's a black box. So I think the DoD needs to change how it's advertising. It should be very open about this is the program of record and we do X. And it's very clear how you would or wouldn't fit into that. And then give very firm, I think the DoD needs to do a better job of saying no to stuff. Like, no, we're not interested in this. Thank you. Here's some other things. Here are our priorities.
100%.
So let me hop in here for a second. This conversation has been going on since the beginning of time, at least for the last 10 years.
We don't have to worry, though.
I am largely uninterested in the SBIR conversation because I don't think people are honest about one thing, and that is the objective of the SBIR program. So let's talk about what this is. This is a small business administration pool of funding. Yes, it's administered by the DoD. Yes, it's administered by DARPA. Yes, I think even the Department of State has a SBIR program. It's a small business administration program, which means it's effectively a jobs program. It is one of those things that is masquerading inside the federal government as this, when in reality it is this. The goal is to quote unquote support small businesses. When it became big in defense again was really right around 2018, 2019, really thanks to the Air Force and AFWorks and all these innovation organizations that sprung up that were in response to one fundamental thing, which is that, hey, our defense industrial base has shrunk. In short, there's fewer companies providing the same amount of capability to the enterprise. We should broaden that, right? And you can read 80,000 articles about the Last Supper, the first breakfast, blah, blah, blah. That's not my area of expertise. Others will tell you about it. But so what was the goal? The goal was just to get more people thinking about selling to the federal market. That was the goal. What's the most popular SBIR topic every year, John?
SBIR open topic?
Open topic, which means it's actually affiliated with no one. It's not an E7's idea. It's not DARPA's idea. It's not a program office's idea. It's just an opportunity for a company that's had 2 conversations with a junior dude or a program office or whatever who says they don't have money for it. It's an opportunity for them to get a signed piece of paper and then play their hand, scratch off their lottery ticket and see what happens. So the impetus for SBIR expansion inside DoD was just to get more companies involved. Now you also have this other group of people, the venture capital community. What's their interest in all of this? They want to show traction. They want to pump up their next round. They want their companies to have a fighting chance. John, I think one of the things that you alluded to is that a lot of these things, TACFI, STRATFI, it's just about keeping these companies alive for a little bit longer, giving them another chance, somebody else beyond venture money propping them up, giving them a little bit more time for people to play with it, with the idea being that with more time, they can navigate that crazy process and then hopefully land on the other side of the aisle. Who else is interested in SBIR? Lockheed Martin, Booz Allen Hamilton, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. Why do they care? They don't have to do R&D. They can watch somebody else do R&D. They're sitting in all the program offices. They got people on the inside. When this stuff comes through, who gets first look at it? The primes who are already on contract. So all of this to say, I think your solution's a very interesting solution. What you have here is a lack of clarity around what are we trying to achieve with this program, and then what are the incentives of every participant in that system. You could really quickly see if you put the money in the program offices, yep, it's got a landing component, but what's going to happen? All of a sudden, you're going to start seeing the buddies of the Lockheed Martin program managers playing for SBIR. Those SBIR mills are going to become really interesting because they'll just hand over the technology to the primes. It would work, but you will also see it will work at some things and be less good at others. It's kind of a change in incentives. So my honest take, and sorry for this is my rant here, and then I promise I'm not going to talk about SBIR for weeks. The reality of this program is it does some things very well, which is it gives a lot of people the ability to say that they're working with the federal government. What it does not do well is technology transfer or transition to program of record. Fundamentally, that is a relationship thing that takes time, and it takes an understanding of a system. Of all of the people who show up to the defense tech community or national security ecosystem, there is a very small group of people who actually know how to do that. I know because I've been hunting them for 2 years to try to get them to come on the Crossing the Valley podcast. There's really not that many people who have taken something from prototype to production at a scale that impacts the mission. I would bet my bottom dollar that when the federal government is reopened, the SBIR program is not going away. There are too many people who have a vested interest in keeping this gravy train running. The exact form and function it takes is likely a matter of who's got the right lobbyist in the right place at the right time. That's my moment of cynicism. Thank you, America.
I think what you talked about, the part, 2 things. Number one, Hellmeyer question number 1 is, what problem are you trying to solve? And I think you articulated it well, right? Like, is this just a white-collar corporate jobs program? If that's the case, to Ben's point, just be honest about it. Let's let's stop baffling. Let's actually align narrative with reality and say look. You gotta, and at least VC does this well. The power law is 97% of you will fail, but the 3 who succeed have a pretty good life ahead of them, probably maybe if they keep their cap table clean. Why isn't that the same narrative here? Hey, let's just be honest. You got a 2.5% chance of this working. Otherwise, you guys are going to die in the valley. That's just the way it is. And we're good with that, actually, because it worked for us. God bless and Godspeed, right? But that's not what happens. It's, Department of War, we need to reinvigorate, reindustrialize. We need more, we need to rebuild the national industrial base. No, actually, we're not actually interested in that. Like, we just want to make sure that people aren't griping to Congress that they're not getting DoD dollars.
Good, because people will still do hard shit, right? Like, people go sign up for hard things in the military all the time and like, I'm likely going to fail. And then you get really good talent going through. The problem is when you have the dissonance where people are sold, you're going to be successful in selling to the DoD. It's going to be easy. You're going to have the easy button here. Do a little bit of work, and then they have the dissonance, and then they're turned off, and they say, fuck this, I'm done with this industry. And that is actually worse for America, because now you have people that are not. I tried, and I met entrepreneurs that are doing really, really cool companies that are successful in the commercial space who are like, I tried the DoD, that sucked, I'm out, I won't even consider it now.
And I'm going to tell my buddies not to do it either.
Right, and then we're all missing out. Instead, if they were told up front, this is a lotto ticket, good luck, try it, they might have had a different attitude and say, oh, it didn't work out.
I won't be jaded.
Yeah.
Well, good news. If they don't like the DoD, we got something new for them. DOW's here, baby. It's a rebrand. We're refreshed. We're back at it. All right, we got to close this one out because even the 100 people who care about SBIR, I think we put them to sleep over the last 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and put SBIR on a shelf. We're not talking about it for a while. Good luck. We'll see what happens. Let's move on. We'll hit one more before we let John get on with running his business and the $30 million that he's got to put somewhere in Barbados. Then what do we got next?